So, how long have you been living out of your RV?
Since October 2017.
And talk to me about your story. Like, what led you here? I mean, I'm assuming you had a house or an
Oh yeah,
apartment or
yeah,
something. So,
yeah.
so just talk to me about your story.
Well, moved out here from Central Florida, end of 2015. We had a house in Capitol Hill that we were paying $2,700 a month for a two-bedroom. We couldn't afford it, so we ended up subletting it. I made an apartment in the basement, and we rented the two rooms upstairs. That wasn't kosher with the lease, so and at the same time they ended up raising the rent another $300 a month. So it was going to be $3,000 a month, and we just couldn't do it, you know. So that mixed with the subletting thing, we lost the house, and I didn't have a safety net. My dad is older and on fixed income, and she doesn't have any family at all. They're deceased. My mother's deceased, and you know, we're in a strange part of the country that neither of us have been to before. So, you know, it's no safety nets and no real, ability to do. So we bought an RV for $500, and lived in that one for, I don't know, 6 months, and then it got impounded by the city for tickets, overdue tickets. Lived out of my Camry for another couple months, got another RV. That one also impounded for tickets. And she had just broken her shoulder at that time, literally 2 days prior, and they kicked us out on the street. And her with a broken shoulder, and that one was tough. And we lived. I had a Tahoe then. We lived out of that for about 6 months through the winter. I ended up getting pneumonia. Then she had a lawsuit for the Takata airbag thing, and she finally got paid for that while I was in the hospital for pneumonia. So then we bought this thing here, and that was beginning of 2020. And that right about that time, they stopped being such. I can't say that on camera. They were a little more lax with the tickets and stuff, or at least impounding them. Because if it gets impounded, I mean, who can pay? You know, it's like $1,200 to get it out. So yeah, we've been spared that this time so far. Although they had when we had to move a couple days ago, they had the tow truck there ready. Couldn't get it started. Finally got it started. Because they sit for periods of time, and you know, it's like anything. It needs to move to keep things oiled and stuff. So that's why these things are so derelict all the time, is because they just don't move.
Yeah.
Or just can't afford the upkeep.
What's the biggest misconception people have about people who live in their RVs?
I guess we're never normal at one point, or we didn't have like conventional lives at one point. You know, I have never experienced such just vitriol and just like blind, just disgust and hatred by the general public ever. It's like it's bizarre. Like I've just to be treated in such a way by people that don't even know you. It's just like I mean I couldn't fathom treating someone like that. And you know, the nicest, most generous, kind people I've dealt with are fellow, you know, homeless or RV dwellers. You know, that I mean, always there to help you out, always there to lend a hand. You know, I can't say that about anyone else. I actually had a conversation with a police officer the other day, and he was actually treated me with, you know, kindness and decency, and I was like, I got emotional over it. When we were done talking, I was like, sir, I just want to thank you for treating me like a human being. I was like, I really appreciate that. Kind of caught him off guard, you know. He wasn't expecting that, and You know, it's just like that, just to be treated, you know, with any kind of respect or just a normal, you know, interaction like that was profound to me. And, you know, it made me think, I was like, really? Like, that's as acceptable now? Like, that's the, you know, the,
Someone coming up to you and talking to you like you're a person.
yeah, was a very profound moment. It had been a while since that had happened, you know? So that was cool.
So where do you see your life in a year or 5 years or 10 years?
Let's see. I'm, I guess, well, both lucky enough and also, unfortunately, I just got out of the hospital about 2 weeks ago. I was in for a month and a half. My kidney shut down, and I got to be on dialysis 3 times a week. And my dad has offered to let me live with him in Tennessee. So that's my escape route. That's my, you know, ticket out of this mess, at least for now. You know, I mean, I'm a reasonably intelligent person, I think, and I can, you know, I see myself, I see my future in a positive light. I think there are good things for me in the future, and I think that I can make, you know, whatever impact on the world I think I need to or am destined to, and I think that the future is good for me, but I'm lucky there. You know, I know it took a medical thing and, you know, a terrible, you know, medical happening to make that happen for me, but you know, like I said, I mean, if anything, that's a blessing. Most of these people out here don't have that, or they won't be able to have that, and I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. You know, everyone always wants to, you know, oh, you need to do more, and you gotta, you know. I mean, I would say the mental health factor is a big one. That needs to be, that's probably number one. A lot of people with a lot of traumas, that's a huge thing. Everyone out here isn't out here because they had a good upbringing usually, or they had a, you know, a trauma-free childhood. You know, I think that's universal. There's someone like my mother died when I was young. You know, Dad kind of wasn't there for a lot of my childhood because he was dealing with his own thing, so I was like left to my own. That's not good for a teenager. You know, and she abused when she was a kid. You know, I mean that's universal out here. So I think mental health is, you know, I mean you can't force people to get therapy or treatment, but I mean you can certainly make it more accessible. You know, so because that is navigating that whole thing is just they don't make it easy. That's for sure. They really don't. And I mean, I can see they're trying to do that, but it's. And then number 2 is drugs. It's the truth. You know, people want to say, "Oh, they're not all drug addicts." You know, I mean, everyone out here has substance abuse issues. I don't care. I mean, maybe some of the older people or something, maybe, but that is a huge issue. The fentanyl is like it's like everywhere around the country. It's rampant here, and it's a problem. It's, you know, it is. I've never had more strangers come up to me and ask me if I could get them. It's insane. You know, I mean, I'm talking like clean cut, you know, white kids from the suburbs. Like, that's when, you know, people start paying attention, you know, and then when it starts to affect that sector. So, yeah, so whatever, I mean, I don't think punishment is the answer there either, because I've been in trouble, not for that, but I've, you know, I did a little time a few years ago, and first thing I did when I got out was go find stuff. First thing I did, you know, I mean, It's just the disease, the reality of that particular disease. You know, it's just had I been offered some sort of something while I was locked up, who knows what that could have done, but they don't offer anything.
So you would say parking your RV is like the least of your worries?
Oh, I mean, they're making it more of an issue lately. They started cracking down on that because, you see it on the news, businesses, and a lot of them rightly so. I mean, I get it, when generally with the RVs comes messes and people being disrespectful and everything else, I get it. Some of it is obviously, unfounded. I mean, but a lot of it is true. I mean,
it's complicated.
It's very complicated. But what they do is they just, they put up these things here, these concrete things, and then they're like, oh, well, you can't park here. And then they put up the signs and you can't park here. It's like, okay, well, where do you want us to go? I mean, and so then we get, it's so stupid. I don't know what they're trying to do, but I mean, I've already lost two of my homes because I parked in a spot that wasn't being used for anything else too many times. And I was on the street for that. Like, that's just cruel. Like, I don't understand. Like, literally not affecting anything. Not in the way of anything. Oh my God. I get, every time I think about it, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. Well, Tim, thank you so much for sharing so much.
Yeah.
For more local news coverage, live and on demand, watch King 5 Plus. Download free on Roku and Fire TV.